Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now we're down to the top 5 in this countdown review of reviews. And now, at number 5, taking a look at Disney's very first animated movie, and I think even the very first animated film in history, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So, yeah, for about 80 years now, everybody has praised this movie, and yes, this is a really great movie. I mean, yeah, this movie is really what started it all for Disney. I mean, yeah, this was like Disney's very first animated film and Disney's very first full-length feature film of ever. And yeah, I mean, this is really what has set the standards for animated films. I mean, yeah, this movie is really what started it all for every other film that you're gonna see, every film that you've seen, and every film you're gonna see me review in this countdown. And yes, it is a really, really great film. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows this. I mean, the this pretty much has like kind of the same structure as Cinderella. Snow White is like with has her evil stepmother, which is of course the queen, and of course like she he is a princess, and yeah, she's kind of in the same position as Cinderella. Yeah, Snow White is just working as a maid for the queen. And we also have the wasted prince once again in this movie. I mean, the prince just makes a small appearance at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. I mean, that's all we really see of the prince at all. So, yeah, I think maybe this prince is developed even worse than the Cinderella prince. I mean, this prince is just a complete waste. I mean, seriously, what's even the point of the prince in this movie anyway? Just for someone to Snow White to fall in love with at the very end of the movie and not even see at all for most of this movie. I mean, yeah, she actually runs away from him at the beginning of the movie, and yeah, we don't even see the prince again until the very end of the movie, where he kisses Snow White and wakes her up and takes her off with him. I mean, that's all we see of this prince. So yeah, this prince is probably developed even worse than the Cinderella prince. Yeah. And yeah, Snow White, I'd say she's just pretty much exactly like Cinderella. I mean, she's she's not a terrible character, but I mean, there's really not a whole lot to her. I mean, yeah, she's nice and everything, but she really doesn't do that much. I mean, she acts like because of her maid, she's like acts like a maid and cleans the dwarf's house, and yeah, she's nice to the dwarfs, and yeah, the dwarfs really fall for her, but yeah, so, I don't know, I guess you could maybe say Snow White is a little better developed than Cinderella, but still not saying very much, but yeah. I'd say, like, the characters in this movie are a lot more memorable than the Cinderella characters, which really makes it better. I mean, yeah, there's of course Snow White, the Queen, the Dwarfs, yeah, I mean, a lot of memorable characters in here, yeah. I think the Dwarfs may actually be, like, a lot not memorable than Snow White actually is. I mean, the Dwarfs are probably who the characters that a lot of people really think of in this film. I think, yeah, the Dwarfs are a lot more developed. I mean, there's like Doc, Grumpy, Sleepy, Happy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. And yeah, people really just seem to love the Dwarfs more than anything in this movie. Yeah, I mean, the Dwarfs, of course, have the memorable song in this movie, Hi Ho, but yeah, there's more than. Yeah, there's like a couple more songs than just Hi Ho. There's like Whistle While You Work, and I think of like a couple other songs, but yeah, yeah, the premise of the movie is good, and yeah, like I said, I do think it is a little bit better setup than Cinderella. Yeah, the queen actually like wants to destroy Snow White because she's basically really jealous that Snow White may actually be more beautiful than her. Yeah, we also really don't see like a whole lot of the queen in this movie. I mean, she does make some appearances, like some big appearances, like when she actually does disguise herself, and yeah, when she's talking with the magic mirror. Yeah, but we really don't really see her very much with Snow White in the movie. But I mean, yeah, for what we see of the Queen, yeah, she is like developed okay. I mean, when I was younger, I was really didn't watch this movie that much. I mean, the Queen was just kind of really intimidating for me, especially when I was watching the trailer for this movie. Just hearing her voice was pretty chilling, and just how serious she looked on her face, it was kind of like intimidating. And plus, like when you really see her in her disguise, I mean that just really creeped me out too when I was a little kid. So yeah, I didn't really watch this movie very much growing up, but yeah, when I got older, I did see this on TV sometimes, and yeah, the movie is really, really, really great. Yeah, I would give this movie once again 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, this, like I said, this really did set the standards for Disney, and yeah, this just really began the phenomenon that Disney is today. So, yeah, let me just get right into it. Yeah, so during the opening credits of this movie, there's actually like a message from Walt Disney just saying that he thinks that he is really grateful to all of his staff for putting their hardest work into it or something, yeah. And yeah, Snow White is living with her stepmother. Oh, and I should also say, one of like apart from Cinderella, where we actually hear why she's with her stepmother at the beginning, like her father dies, we really don't really hear why Snow White is really with her evil queen stepmother. We really don't even know what really happened to her regular father. Like, we don't really hear what Snow White's backstory really is. Like, the movie just really starts with Snow White in the position that she's in with her stepmother. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's something that Cinderella did do better than this movie. But, yeah, once again, the movie is, better put together. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, and the queen is just feeling that Snow White's beauty does actually surpass her own, so she's having Snow White work as a maid. And she's asking her magic mirror who the fairest one of all is. And for several years, the mirror has answered that the queen is the fairest one. And then finally, one day, the magic mirror then tells the queen that Snow White is now the fairest one. And of course, the queen is just jealous of Snow White, so she decides to have her destroyed. She tries to have one of her huntsmen kill Snow White in the forest, and also place Snow White's heart in a box for proof of her death. But when the huntsman then tries to kill Snow White, he just can't do it, and then he just tells Snow White what's going on with the queen, and he urges Snow White to just run off, and then Snow White then just ran away into the woods. But then at first she got frightened of everything in the woods. She just felt everything was really scary to her. And then she just finds herself surrounded by a lot of animals and creatures in the forest. And Snow White told the animals about her predicament, and she's trying to find somewhere else to live. And then the animals then led her to the cottage in the woods. And then when she went in, she found that it was everything in the house was pretty small, and plus it was also pretty messy. So Snow White and her animal friends then decide to clean up the house. And then it shows then cuts to the seven dwarfs who actually work in a mine. And then it shows them marching home singing Hi Ho. And once they return home, they then see that their cottage is clean, and then they suspect that there's something inside their home. And they eventually found Snow White sleeping in their beds. And then Snow White then eventually woke up and found all the dwarfs. And then, yeah, she figured out who they were by their names on the beds. And then she introduced herself to the dwarfs. And all the dwarfs then decide to just welcome Snow White into their home. After finding out what she can do, that she cleans and that she can cook for them. And then it just shows Snow White dancing around with the dwarfs and telling them stories and all that. And the queen eventually discovered that Snow White was still alive after the mirror. She asked the mirror who the fairest one of all is now, and yeah, it was then revealed that Snow White was still alive, and that the, her huntsman didn't kill Snow White after her heart wasn't in the box. And then the queen finally just decided to take it upon herself to destroy Snow White, and so she created a potion and then drank it, and then it gave her her own disguise, and it transformed her into like an old woman in a black cloak. And at the same, and then she also makes a poison apple, so that whoever would eat it would fall into the sleeping death. And the only antidote would be love's first kiss. Yes, and yes, and yeah, she wasn't worried about that because Snow White would be buried anyway. Then, yeah, the queen then traveled to the cottage after the dwarfs left for the day to go back to their mine, and Snow White was there alone. And then the queen then found Snow White, but of course Snow White didn't know it was the queen. And then, yeah, the animals, of course, did suspect something, and then they rushed off to the dwarfs to try to inform them on what's going on. Then the queen gave Snow White the apple, telling her that it was magic and she could make a wish and then bite into it. And then as Snow White did that, and she bought into it, then after that, of course, then she then collapsed. And then the dwarfs then eventually arrived back at the cottage, and then they found the queen, and then, yeah, they gave chase to the queen, and then they then had the queen cornered on a cliff, and the queen tried to roll a boulder to the dwarfs, but uh, before she was able to do it, then there was a big stroke of lightning, and then it struck the cliff, and then it broke the part the queen was standing on, and just caused her to fall to her death. And then, yeah, it just showed like Snow White, who was suspected to be dead, in the dwarf's bed, and yeah, of course the dwarfs were all getting teary-eyed, and all the animals were all sad. And it looked like the story was the movie was actually going to end right there, but then like it was just explaining that the dwarves just couldn't bury her, and they instead just kept her in a glass coffin. And it also said like the prince was also looking for her. Yeah, and I should also say like at the beginning of this movie, as Snow White was just being cleaning around, then as she was singing, the prince and just like came and started to sing with her, and then yeah, Snow White just took off. Yeah, that was the beginning, and then yeah, here then as the animals and the dwarfs were all just placing flowers around Snow White's coffin, the prince also then showed up, and then the prince then kissed Snow White, and of course then it was like love's first kiss, and then the spell of the apple was broken, and yeah, Snow White then awoken, and then all the animals and the dwarfs were all, of course, happy, and then they were all celebrating. And then Snow White said goodbye to the dwarfs and the animals as the prince then took Snow White back to his castle, and yeah, that's how it ended. So yeah, like I said, 3.75 stars out of 4. Yeah, yeah. I think the reason that I do put it like really higher than Cinderella, even though it is pretty much like the exact same concept, is because like this is a lot more memorable with a lot more memorable characters in it, and yeah, just of how iconic this movie has really become over basically the last 80 years. Yeah, I just that's probably one of the reasons why I do like place it is it like higher than Cinderella and higher than a lot of the other movies, because yeah, so far from the other movies that I reviewed, it may seem like those movies I would consider better, but yeah, I really do say that this is the better movie just because of just how iconic it has become and just how really memorable it is, and yeah, and it really does like have like well, I mean, just the scene with Snow White in the bed with the dwarfs and the animals all gathering around. I mean, it does kind of get pretty emotional. Like, if you were a kid, you were probably like really crying about that, especially if like maybe you were like a really little kid, or if you were like a girl watching this. But yeah, I mean, it is still like a really really well done, and yeah, I think this could probably even get a grown man tier. Yeah, I'd if you really did really did care about really Snow White, because yeah, while she didn't really do very much, and there's not much to her. I mean, yeah, with how nice she was and everything, yeah, it probably did kind of upset you to see her just dead like that. But yeah, it's a really well done scene, and yeah, the movie, it is a really great movie. All right, so yeah, 3.75 stars out of 4. All right, so yeah, that does it for my review of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.